the pavilion. We're getting ready to go for our Student Media Day Tailgate show. And Kramer, we got a big game today. Northwest coming off a loss, and Emporia State coming off a loss. So a big, important game for both of these two teams.
Yeah, one big thing for the Bearcats to do is make sure you control the ball today. I mean, it's going to be a little cold day. Of course, we're going to be wearing gloves, but hey, that's still not as much as a little breathe from this cold air. It's also supposed to rain, so we got to make sure they hold onto the ball the entire time today.
And Nolan, we've got the weather today. It's real football weather today.
Yeah, definitely. This is what fall football is all about. This nice, brisk, chilly weather that's rolling in, and it's really going to test the players definitely today. And I think they have prepared for it. They know that the weather up here gets cold at some point, so hopefully they are ready for it, like I said.
Yeah, so the Student Media Day Tailgate show will start at noon here today behind the pavilion, and we'll be back for the start of that.
Welcome to Bearcat Update. I'm your host, Jenny James.
And I'm Alex Sanchez. Today on the show, we are bringing you your latest Bearcat sports news.
It is officially fall. Sweatshirts, pumpkin patches, and scented candles. This is perfect weather for your fall sports.
On Sunday, the Northwest soccer team hosted Socktoberfest as it took on Central Missouri. Our reporter Becca Ross got the inside scoop. Becca?
Sunday, as Northwest took on the University of Central Missouri, Mackenzie McGuire, along with Greek Life, decided to do something special and set up a root beer float stand.
We can get some of the plastic steins and fill them with root beer floats and give them to the first 400 fans. The idea just kind of spun from a conference that I was at with her, and we thought that'd be a lot of fun. And I looked at the dates for Oktoberfest, and they actually started yesterday, and they go through October 7th. So we said, why not we go with the theme? We've got a game here. Try to pack the pitch.
All the groups on campus are trying to work together more to create events like this to help cheer on our Northwest athletes.
Spun off of, and I reached out to Greek Life to see if they would like to pair some things. Athletics is trying to reach out to student organizations, get more involvement, and Megan Sean, the Greek Life advisor, jumped on, and she was so excited about it, and they actually donated all of the ice cream, and athletics paid for the root beer and the steins. So, yeah.
This Oktoberfest is just one of many events that the athletic department, along with many other organizations, are putting on.
They've never seen, and trying to do those things like Oktoberfest or Aloha Volleyball or the highlighter night for Light 'em Up for football. Just some of those things is making a lot of attention towards our for our student athletes and bringing fans to the stands, and that's my goal. And if there's any way that I can include other organizations to help with their exposure and get the university more excited about events and coming together, that's what it's all about, and that's what we're very happy to do things like this.
With the continuous support of organizations on campus, look forward to seeing more of these events. For Bearcat Update, I'm Becca Ross.
Thanks, Becca. The team played Lindenwood last Friday. During the 90 minutes of play, the Cats were unable to score but had a total of 10 shots on goal. Brianna Hirsom leading the team with 2 shots on goal. Northwest goalkeeper Alexis Serena Castillo had a total of 8 saves on the day. The Cats fall to Lindenwood 2-0. The team has recently been struggling, but they hope to grab some momentum as they have 2 more home games this week on Friday and Sunday.
Northwest Volleyball has been on a roll. Last week they took on our rival Missouri Western at home. Let's take a look. Maddie Bruder and Bethany Elkins lead the Bearcats with 24 kills between the two of them. The Bearcats had a total of 69 digs in the match, with Olivia Nowakowski and Maddie Bruder leading the team at 13 kills each. The Bearcats sweep MIAA rival Missouri Western 3-0 as they continue to be undefeated in conference. Friday, the girls traveled down south to take on Missouri Southern, winning again 3-0. Saturday, they competed against Southwest Baptist and grabbed 3-1 victory.
They leave the weekend with a 13-3 record and undefeated in conference at 5-0.
The Cats won't stop now as they are second in conference right behind Washburn. They have a week of home games as they take on Fort Hays on Friday and Nebraska Kearney on Saturday.
We are going to take a quick break, but stick around. We're not quite done talking about volleyball yet. You're watching Bearcat Update on KNWT Channel 8.
The volleyball team is having tremendous success this season. Maddie Bruder already recording 8 double-doubles this season and leads the MIAA in kills per set.
On Bear
The volleyball team is having tremendous success this season. Maddie Bruder already recording 8 double-doubles this season and leads the MIAA in kills per set.
On Bearcat Boulevard today, we have the one and only Northwest All-Star, Maddie Bruder. Thanks so much for joining us today, Maddie.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So kind of just talk about how successful you guys have been so far this season.
Yeah, so it's been fun. Like, it's just one of those things where we know what we have to do kind of coming out each and every set, and it's just been a lot of fun. Obviously, winning is fun, and so it's just we've been kind of sticking to game plans, what coaches kind of put out in front of us, and with that comes success.
And what's different from last year's team to now?
I would just say not I don't want to say a whole lot is different. I think we work a little bit better on the court, which was something last year that we really wanted to work on more, was just our flow on the court, because we all have pretty good chemistry off the court. We all love to hang out with each other and do stuff outside of volleyball, but it's kind of one of those things where on the court we just had to find ways to connect better together. So I think that's our biggest improvement, is just finding ways to carry ourselves with a lot of intensity on the court and work with each other with that intensity, and kind of just goes back to giving and reciprocating feedback. We're just a lot better at it this year.
How would you explain kind of being a senior and that leadership role that you've had to take on?
Yeah, it's different, but it's not something that I would say is so different that it's been overwhelming. I think Coach last year did a pretty good job of kind of preparing me for what this was going to feel like, so it's not anything that Olivia or I haven't been working towards ever since our junior year. So I would just say the only difference is obviously I'm a senior, so it's my last go around, but I also have some really great teammates that are behind my back that they've really just done a good job buying into what we want as a team. They buy into our leadership. They really encourage us with our roles on the court, and so I just think it's easy because of the teammates and the coaches that we have with us.
And how do you guys see yourself doing in the future, these coming up games?
Yeah, so these next few games are going to be challenging. We have Fort Hayes, which is they are just usually pretty consistent, and you kind of have to come out and set the pace with them, and you have to set the tone knowing that basically putting them in their place. And then we have Kearney on Saturday, which is a really big game for us, not only within the conference but within the nation. They're nationally ranked. So it'll be a really fun, exciting game to obviously play Kearney. They're definitely ones that we enjoy playing just because it kind of shows us where we are at. And so I'm just really excited kind of going forward this week of practice, really kind of hitting it hard, and just really excited for this weekend. It's going to be a fun home weekend for us. So,
what are you hoping to accomplish your last season here?
I think just between us four seniors all together is just win conference. It's obvious. It's been a goal for me ever since my freshman year. It's something that I knew we could do, and it's something that I knew we could was a really good goal for us to set in front of all of us. But definitely this year, it's something that I know we can do, and I wouldn't say it if I didn't think we could do it, because I know it's something that is really important for us, and it's definitely attainable. So winning conference is for sure the number one thing for us, and obviously there's baby steps that go into that, but for sure winning conference is a big goal for us.
And how do you guys keep yourselves humble after winning all the time?
I think it's just kind of like games like this last weekend. I think our biggest thing is finding ways to not beat ourselves, because this last weekend it was kind of games against ourselves, and so it's finding ways to still work on the things that we have to work on in practice, and our coaches do a really good job of kind of kicking our butts in practice a little bit. They don't make it easy on us, which helps, because I think it's something that's pretty easy to do to a team after consecutive wins, but our coaches do a really, really good job of not only making sure the upperclassmen know that we have to keep hitting it hard because we have better competition coming forward, but also I know us seniors are also and even the juniors are just, hey, we still have work to do. It's not over, and our coach always preaches about being the best at the end of the season. So in order to be the best at the end of the season, we have to get 1% better every single day. So that's kind of our biggest mindset.
Well, Maddie, thank you so much for joining us today. That is all the time we have for Bearcat Boulevard, but stick around. We have more to come on KNWT Channel 8. Welcome back to Bearcat Update. The volleyball team is on an 8-game win streak and is looking hotter than ever.
We sent out our reporter, Jawan Bush, to see what the volleyball team has to say about their current situation and what the future looks like for them. Jawan?
The Northwest Ladies volleyball team is currently undefeated in conference, and we caught with Olivia to figure out what their success is this far in season.
Consistency. Right now, And in the previous years, we usually start pretty well in our seasons, and we kind of hit a little low in the middle of the season. And I think something that we're trying to focus on right now is playing consistent and playing the team and knowing our teams and playing them consistently. So I think once we hit mid-season coming up here, I think that's when the real work is going to have to be put in. And I think this year everybody kind of knows that we want to be first and that we are going for something that we haven't done in a really long time.
With the volleyball team changing for the better, they still have the same coach, and she is leading them to victory this season.
She's really striving us to be think about lower teams as putting them away and putting them away in 3 like we need to, instead of just thinking about not trying to go to 5 with them or trying to focus on us. We're also trying to focus on who is across the net and do they deserve to be there. So I think that's something that she's really pushing us on. I mean, she laughs with us too. Like she can be strict on the court, which is good, and but at the end of the day, like she loves us just like we're her own children. So it's pretty great to have a coach that's consistent in that role, and yeah, she's awesome.
Northwest volleyball team will play Fort Hays at home this Friday at 6 p.m. I'm Juwan Bush, and you're watching Bearcat Update.
Thanks, Juwan. Let's take a look at the Northwest football team and where they stand in conference.
They headed down to Edmond, Oklahoma to take on Central Oklahoma this past weekend. Struggling in the first half, the Bearcats came back scoring 18 fourth-quarter points, but that wouldn't be enough to overcome a 28-3 deficit through 3 quarters.
They currently sit with Fort Hays right behind Pitt State in conference. They will be back home this Saturday playing Emporia State for Military Appreciation Day.
Let's take a look at our top picks for this week.
My pick has to be men and women's tennis as they head down to Oklahoma City on Friday for the ITA Regional.
I will have to go with the Northwest football team as they play Emporia State on Saturday here in Maryville. Thanks for tuning into this week's episode of Bearcat Update. You can follow us on Twitter at BearcatUpdate_8 or watch all of our previous episodes on YouTube at KNWT8.
Thanks for watching and have a great night.
it was more about us making little mistakes that added.
Welcome to the pavilion here at Northwest Missouri State University. Right behind Bearcat Stadium is Northwest Missouri State. It's that Emporia State. Northwest comes into this one at 3-1. Emporia State comes into this one at 2-2. Both teams coming off a loss. I'm Jacob Blair. I'm joined by Kramer Sandstone and Nolan Brooks. Kramer, we're going to start this one today. We were going to start by talking about these two teams, but the weather has thrown a curveball at everyone today.
Yeah, the weather right now, it's like what? It's I checked the temperature. It's 47 degrees right now, and yes, right now the weather with us media people, it's 1-0. So right now we're down 1-0 to the weather. So yes, it's gonna be a nice cold day out here. I mean, it's the little taste of football weather. So, I mean, everybody needs to keep those hands warm on the day.
And Nolan, when you look at the weather, it is a factor because hands get colder, the football gets a little bit harder. The first game you're going to play in this kind of weather.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge, but this is nothing new up here in Maryville. I mean, the weather can change on a dime, as you can see. So I think the players are going to be prepared. You know, Rich Wright knows what he's doing in these kind of situations with the weather, and he's going to get them ready for it, and by the time the game comes, they'll be ready to go. Cold weather put aside.
So last week, the Bearcats, they took a tough loss. They lost at Central Oklahoma 31-21. Not a Bearcat performance we're used to seeing.
Now, right now, like the way that the defense played in that first half was a little bit slow. You were usually having that stop that defense a bit sooner, but then once that second half went, the offense picked a little bit more. But the only down part of that was the defense. They kind of exploited the holes for the Bearcats.
When you looked at that game, it really was dominated by Central Oklahoma. The score made it look a little bit closer than it was. The Bearcats were able to roll a couple points there in the last 10 minutes or so of the game, but 50 minutes, it was all about Central Oklahoma.
Definitely. You know, every week that we do this, we talk about how the MIAA is really up for grabs for anybody. And, you know, you go on the road, it's going to be a tough game. It doesn't matter who you play. And Central Oklahoma really proved that by coming out and shutting down a very potent Bearcat offense. And that really showed well for Central Oklahoma, so Northwest is going to have to bounce back.
So, like I said, they come into this one 3-1. Emporia State put up a lot of points last week, but lost their game to Lindenwood 48-41.
Yeah, so far that Emporia has been a lot of points so far. Has scored about 140 big numbers. Right now, the Bearcats are like that whether I know everyone's really hold on to the ball because it's supposed to rain a little bit later on. That's awesome. Field. So they just like stop that fast off. Emporia State does have at least.
As this rolls into the game, this matchup is dominated by Northwest past at 32-2 overall in the series. Northwest has won 25 straight over Emporia State, but this game today has got a little bit of a different feel as Northwest kind of on their back.
Yeah, it's going to be a big challenge today for Northwest to bounce back from a loss on the road like we've been talking about, and hopefully they know that winning 25 straight isn't just kind of a giveaway, that they're going to win this game, and they have to prepare for Emporia State in every way possible. but I'm sure Emporia State's also preparing for Northwest, knowing that we are the underdogs in this game, no matter where we play them. So hopefully both teams are prepared today.
Bearcats won this matchup last year 34-0. It's a little bit different. Last week, Bearcats give up 31 points. That's the most points given up under Coach Wright.
Also, the last week, Bearcats were very young, showing West great. Of course, once he's that freshman back, that's a little not at the top of the game right we first week. So right now, Bearcats very young, and hopefully this sport get that away.
There's one good thing for the Bearcats. Their run defense still been pretty good so far. It's their pass defense that's the worry. Northwest still one of just 4 schools not to allow a rushing season, along with Harding, Phillum, Fayetteville State. That's a big thing for the Bearcats. As Emporia State, they really like their rushing.
Yeah, that's a common theme for the Bearcats, that they have a fantastic run defense. And what's scary is that there's not really a way to fully prepare for it because they switch it up on you in a dime. And hopefully Emporia State is prepared for something like that where they can switch in and out, switch out who's running the ball or who's maybe a dual quarterback threat or something like that. And we'll see what happens today.
Yeah, so the Bearcats, they've been really good over the past several years, but the last 8 games from last year to this year, they're sitting at 4-4. So they really need to find a way to get this team back on the right track.
Exactly, and with this team going in as well, I mean, who knows? Anything can happen in a game. I know it's right now with the weather, it could be a huge impact of what things could happen in the future, but honestly, who knows? Seriously.
As the Bearcats, one stat that's interesting about them is they've given up over 300 yards of offense to opposing opponents in 3 of the 4 games they've played this year. Before that, they've only gave up 300-plus yards in 3 of 21 games. So when we look and compare these two offenses, and you look at the Bearcats offense, you look at the Hornets offense, numbers look really similar right now. The Bearcats are averaging 454 yards per game. The Hornets about at 370. Rush yards per game, Bearcats all the way up near 200. The Hornets at 180 rush yards per game. Pass yards per game, the Bearcats are at 255.5, and the Hornets are at 188 yards per game. And then points per game, that's where Northwest has the advantage. They're scoring almost 38 per game, while the Hornets have 27.
Yeah, that passing is what is helping out the Northwest Bearcats. But if you want to also look at that defense-wise, they both look similar as well. They both have very good pass rushes. The secondary is still there for both teams, and it's just like a very mimicking team-wise with Emporia and Northwest. So this is like going to be a very good competitive game for today, and it's going to be a really great one to watch for the people who do come. Make sure you bundle up and everything like that. So this is going to be a very good, fun game.
And when you look at Emporia State, they really look at this offense and they look at the rush game. It's a very balanced attack. They're both at about 180 yards per game in both the pass and the rush. It's going to be important for the Bearcats to stop that rushing attack for Emporia State.
Definitely, and we've already brought it up that it feels like it was a fluke last week for the Northwest defense. They're so highly praised for how little they allow as far as points per game and stuff like that. But then, they go out and allow 31. So I don't think that's going to be a theme here today. I think they're going to come back. They're going to realize we need to shut down every part of this opposing offense, and they'll do good.
And then when we look and compare these two defenses on the field, this is where Northwest still, even after last week, has a little bit of an advantage. When you look at the yards per game given up by both teams, Bearcats, they're over that 300 mark. They sit at about 306. The Hornets, defensive-wise, they're at about 402 yards per game given up. That is a lot of yards for the Hornets. Rush yards per game, that's where the Bearcats' defense is still pretty sit out, only giving up about 75. Where the Hornets, they're giving up a lot of rush yards at 180. Pass yards, really even there at 231 for the Bearcats, 223 for the Hornets, but the Bearcats still only giving up about 13.5 points per game.
Yeah, something I look at for both teams to look at is their sacks. Like right now, Northwest has 12 sacks in the season. That is 5th in the MIAA. And you look at Emporia State, they have 11 sacks on the year. So they're pretty much neck and neck. Pass rush, like I said earlier, really good for both sides. And also the interceptions. Those is what is really going down on the defense for both teams. Right now, Northwest has 2. They had 13 all last season. I mean, of course, there's going to be more coming on the rest of the season. There's more games coming up forward. There's one interception for Emporia State. So who knows how their secondary is going to play in this game. They constantly have a few interceptions for both sides.
And Nolan, under Coach Higgins for the Hornets, they're 56-11 when they score more than 28 points. And if you're the Bearcats, the Hornets are putting up points this season. That might be the number you're looking at to keep the Hornets under that 28-point mark.
Definitely. This Hornets offense has been very, very high caliber the past few years. Last year they were ranked high in the nation when we played them last year. But coming into this year, it's not going to be that much different. They're scoring a whole lot per game, as you said. So the Bearcat defense is definitely going to have to be prepared for a bunch of swapping in and out of players, or deep home run passes down the field, or attacking right at that line with a rushing offense. So the Bearcats definitely should have watched their film and are ready to go for that.
And so the Bearcats took the loss last week, but when we talked to Coach Wright at the media luncheon on Tuesday, he talked about how it was just a loss. So here's Coach Wright and what he had to say about their loss last week.
It was more about us making little mistakes that added up to big things at inopportune times. There's lots of times when you watch a game on film and somebody will make an error and it isn't exploited. And it was literally as if every time defensively we made an error, it was exploited. And it just unfortunately caught up with us in one night. And you couple that with the notion that the other side of the football, around here what usually happens is if one side of the ball struggles, the other side kind of picks it up. And we unfortunately picked the same night to struggle. And Braden struggled throwing the ball early. Really didn't get going as far as completions were concerned, and so we just couldn't sustain anything. Having said that, I really felt like our team did a nice job of battling back. We never believed we were out of the game. We truly thought we were going to figure out a way to win it. We just, again, continued to make a couple mistakes at the end when time was short and couldn't afford to let that happen.
So when we look at this team, they've got one loss now this season, and this is an important game for the Bearcats because when you look at their schedule, they've got a big one next week with Pitt State, who sits at the top of the MIAA.
Yeah, they have to come into this game firing on all cylinders. I know you always want to get that win back after you lose one, so this is going to be a perfect time for the Bearcats to do so at home, and also to pretty much get rid of that, hey, we may be a young team, but we can still win these games and win the most important games. And also, don't look forward to next week just yet. You need to play this game first and make sure after this game, then you worry about Pitt State. So right now, the Bearcats just need to come out there and perform really well.
And Nolan, this is a good matchup. It's not one of the toughest teams in the MIAA, but it's a good team. It's a good game to get back on track, come back after a loss, and put in a good performance over these next 4 quarters.
Definitely, and like Kramer said, this is a young team, and hopefully they don't let a loss get to them. You're going to lose games. Like Coach Wright said, one loss is not the end of the world. So hopefully they really take advantage of this game against a not as strong team in the MIAA. And they go out, they play good football, they throw the ball, they run the ball like they're supposed to, defense shows up, and it's an overall good game for Northwest.
Yes, so again, the Northwest Missouri States are taking on the Emporia State Hornets today. The Bearcats sit 3-1. They come into this one with the Hornets at 2-2. We'll go ahead and take a quick break here on the Northwest Missouri Student Media Tailgate Show. When we get back, we will discuss the top 25 around Division II as well as the MIAA.
I hope our kids learn from this. I think they will. After talking to a lot of guys in the complex over the last couple days, I think this one resonates a little bit. And, it's something that I'm excited to get back out to practice. I'm excited to get going. I'm excited to play again because this team still has a lot of capability to it. And, sometimes when you lose a game at Northwest Missouri State, it's like the sky is falling when you come back into the community. And this is a long season, and there's still a lot of football left to be played, and we just need to, if we fix a few details, we're going to be just fine.
Welcome back to the pavilion here behind Bearcat Stadium at Northwest Missouri State University, and we'll now start and look at the around the nation here for the Division II, and we'll look at the top 25 rankings currently. It's Minnesota State that sits number 1 in the nation. Indiana out of Pennsylvania, they sit number 2. Grand Valley State is number 3. Ferris State sits at number 4. Midwestern State, and then West Georgia, Ouachita Baptist, Minnesota State with Texas A&M Commerce, and then Pitt State, the other team in the MIAA that's top of those standings right now, sits number 10 in the nation.
Yeah, that's with Pitt State at number 10. That is who the number 17 team is like right now, Northwest. So we'll play next week. Let's see if they both get a win and see if they go up in the polls. But also you got to look at number 18, Fort Hays State. And, everything. Such a good conference in the MIAA. There could be a few more teams also in the MIAA who could be ranked, who should be ranked, but right now these 3 teams that are right now that are representing with Pitt State, Northwest, and Fort Hays, it's very good teams.
And as Kramer said, you've got Pitt State at number 10, Northwest Missouri State sits at number 17, Fort Hays State at 18, and then it was Washburn and Central Missouri that also received votes in that national poll. And so, again, the MIAA, a very strong conference. You still got a lot of teams up there fighting for, the top team of the MIAA.
Yeah, this is a consistent thing every year at the MIAA. You're going to have a dogfight for those top 3 spots or so in the MIAA, and to have teams like Fort Hays State and Pitt State and then Northwest still in the top 25 rankings really shows you that the MIAA does not mess around when it comes to football, and they're going to be a threat every year to be in that top 25 poll, and they're going to represent well.
And when you look at the MIAA standings, it is Pittsburgh State that sits atop those standings at 4-0, the only MIAA team that has yet to take a loss. So it's been a while since we've said that the MIAA runs through Pitt State.
Exactly, and with Pitt State going at that 4-0 on the season, they could honestly go undefeated. Hopefully they don't. Next week, of course, Northwest. But still, this Pitt State team is so well-rounded. Their defense right now is playing fantastic. Same with their offense. They don't really give up a lot of points. They also don't give up a lot of rushing yards, too. So that's something that you need to look at for this Pitt State team going forward, for teams trying to play them and hopefully beat them, but good luck with that.
And when you look at the rest of the MIAA standings, it's Fort Hays State and Northwest Missouri that sits tied for second at 3-1, and then from there on back, Central Missouri, Central Oklahoma, Emporia State, Lindenwood, and Missouri Western. They all sit at 2-2. Nebraska Kearney's there as well as Emporia State. So right now, a lot of these MIAA teams are kind of beating up on each other a little bit.
Yeah, like we've been saying, there's no real clear person or team that's going to come out on top for the MIAA. So when you look and you have, 6 or 7 teams that are all right there at the same record, that tells you that this is going to be a fight till the very last game of the regular season here in the MIAA, and hopefully each team is ready and shows up because they know that anything is up for grabs this year. It's not a clear winner, there's not a clear loser. It's whoever is going to come out on top.
And Washburn, they also sit at 2-2, and then it's Missouri Southern and Northeastern State. They're still both winless this season, still looking for their first win. Now we look around at the MIAA matchups this week. We'll start with Pitt State at Lindenwood. This one will start, it's one of the 3 early games. It'll start at 1 p.m. And you got the 4-0 Pitt State Gorillas going up against the 2-2 Lindenwood Lions.
Yeah, as Pitt State-wise, I'm going with, for that game, of course, Pitt State. Pitt State's so good against Lindenwood. Lindenwood did get a win last week, so who knows? I know that Pitt State is the only undefeated team, as well as we mentioned earlier, that is in the MIAA. And, yes, they score, fast offense, everything, Pitt State.
I'm going to have to go with Pitt State as well. They're just too good to go on the road and drop one to 2-2 Lindenwood. They sit atop the MIAA for a good reason, and to go into Lindenwood and get a road loss would not be good for them, so that's why I'm going to go with Pitt State.
Yeah, Pitt State is going to be the favorite in this one. I think Pitt State wins this one as well, and it's going to be an interesting matchup as they have to go over there to St. Charles to take on the Lions, and like we said, the Lions got a win last week. The second matchup this week, this one will also start at 1 p.m. It's Missouri Southern at 0-4, and they head to Warrensburg to take on Central Missouri at 2-2.
So, picking Central Missouri on this one, it may not be a big shock on this, but Central Missouri is pretty good and also in the MIAA play. Missouri Southern, though, has only scored 33 points this season, so that's not the best, but they can easily improve from this. They could also score some points if they wanted to. But also, Central Missouri has a decent pass rush with 7 sacks on the season. And also, UCM scores 37.5 points per game. So that's a big offense.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with Central Missouri as well. I mean, it's really tough to go into Warrensburg when you're already 0-4 and take a road win. So UCM is just going to come out and dominate, kind of like Northwest did here at home against Missouri Southern. So UCM all the way.
Yeah, UCM was one of those 4 teams at the start of the year, really the 3 teams with Fort Hays State, Northwest, and Central Missouri themselves. You can now throw Pitt State in there as kind of the 4 teams that are going to be able to fight for this MIAA championship. I think Central Missouri takes care of business over there in Warrensburg and takes that game. We'll now move to the 3rd matchup here in the MIAA. This one also starting at 1 p.m. It's Nebraska Kearney at 2-2, and they head to Northeastern State to take, as they sit, 0-4.
So I'm going with the 0-4 Northeastern State. You got to have an upset pick when you're doing pick-ups, right, guys? So, hey, I'm doing with that. So, yeah, going into they have to go get the ball quickly. Sorry, I'm kind of talking a little bit fast there. They get the ball quickly moving. You got to get through this Nebraska Kearney offense and defense in order to put up some points. Make sure you score quick and often for this Northeastern team. So I'm going with Northeastern.
Well, I'm going to have to go against that. I'm going to go Nebraska Kearney for this game. They've gotten some big wins. You know, they put up a lot of points in these first 4 weeks, and Northeastern State's 0-4. I mean, I realize they're at home, but Nebraska Kearney is just a better team offense-wise, defense-wise, so I'm going to take Nebraska Kearney.
And it's been a little bit of a surprise to see Nebraska Kearney at 2-2 this season. They've got some good wins. I think they take this one as well. They head into Northeastern State and get the win. Then that 4th game, which will start at 1:30, that's the game here at Northwest. So we'll move to the next one in the MIAA, and that is Central Oklahoma at 2-2. They're heading to Fort Hays State. Fort Hays State says 3-1. That kickoff's at 7 p.m.
Going with Fort Hays on this one. Right now they're 5th in the MIAA. MIAA scoring with 118 points. They also score 29.3 points per game. They also have 10 sacks and 6 INTs on the season.
I'm going to have to go with Fort Hays State as well. I mean, they're just so good at home. I mean, they showed you last year that they were front runners for the MIAA, and they're not slowing down at all this year. So I'm going to go ahead and stick with Fort Hays State for this game as well.
I've got Fort Hays State as well in this one. I'll make it a consensus pick. I think the 18th ranked team in the country takes care of business against Central Oklahoma. They saw what Central Oklahoma can do against Northwest last week. I think they'll be prepared for them and ready to go. The 5th and final game on the MIAA slate is Washburn. They're 2-2. They are heading to Missouri Western at 2-2. So the winner of this one, this game starts at 7 p.m., but the winner of this one will be over 500 for the season.
That is true, and I'm going with Washburn on this one. I know it's going to be kind of hard to win at Missouri Western. Just because they did beat a few weeks back. I can't remember who they beat.
They beat Hayes at home.
Hayes at home, so they are pretty good at winning at home. So they play pretty much the same exact way, defense and offense. So I really couldn't pick who I really wanted to. So I mean, I'm going with Washburn on this.
I'm going to have to go with Missouri Western. I mean, they are tough to go into St. Joe and beat them. Like we were talking about, Hayes went in, and Hayes was the top dog in the MIAA, and then they got knocked off in that game. So I think Missouri Western's just offensively is going to be better overall than Washburn is, and that's how they're going to get the win today.
Yeah, I've got Missouri Western taking this one. I think both teams at 2-2, you look at the home field advantage, and this Missouri Western team, they're a good football team this year. We saw that when they rolled in here week 1, made a couple mistakes, and that's why Northwest was able to get that win. But they're a good football team, and I think Missouri Western takes the win. So that.
I also want to add, if they apply pressure to Don Marino, Washburn should easily get this. They just got to apply pressure. Get through that offensive line, it'll be perfect.
So that is a look around the MIAA. Is a big slate of games, all 12 teams in action today. Some early there at the 1 p.m. mark, some later at the 7 p.m. mark. But we'll go ahead and take a quick break here on the Northwest Missouri Tailgate Show. When we get back, we'll talk about the big day today. It is Military Day here at Bearcat Stadium. welcome back to the Northwest Missouri State Student Media Tailgate Show at the pavilion behind Bearcat Stadium. And we talked about the weather earlier. The rain has started to come down here just now about an hour from kickoff time.
The weather right now is 2-0 on the day, so let's see if they can go 3-0, see if any interceptions or fumbles happen, and the weather gets a win for today.
And Nolan, it's a big day here at Bearcat Stadium as it's Military Day, and we saw what this day meant last year as each game the Bearcats come out with a different jersey, but it's a special jersey look they had. And talk about last year's look a little bit.
So last year's look, it hasn't changed dramatically, but this year to last year is a big enough change. I know with last year's look, we had the gray uniforms, we had the white helmet with the red, white, and blue paw, and then the name stripe down the middle of the helmet. So that was really a strong dedication to members of the Northwest family that have served or are currently serving, and I know that was a huge honor to have that on the helmet in the first place. And then this year, they've now added a photo of a member to each helmet, and each helmet is going to have a different member of service on that helmet, so it's definitely going to be cool.
Yeah, so Nolan went behind the scenes with Northwest Equipment to get a look at how this look got together for the Bearcats for today's game.
To say the football team honors the military would be an understatement. In fact, they dedicate an entire helmet design to honor members of the Northwest family who have served in any branch of service.
So these military helmets, we actually started working with the National Guard and the Show Me Gold program last year. We had this idea to kind of be the first ever to put a photo on a football helmet. It's if you think about it, no one's really ever done it before. Some people have done it with their senior day helmets and stuff like that, but it's really unique to have a individual helmet. Every helmet on the field is different, and so it took a lot of time to formulate the data for the names and the background of the stripe, and get the family photos from the players and stuff like that. It's a year-long collaboration.
For Sergeant Jesse Ramsey and the Show Me Gold organization, the dedicated helmet lives up to and beyond their expectations of what the finished product would be, as it changes every year.
Oh, absolutely. The design is incredible. On top of that, it just fills us with a big sense of pride. We'd like to see it continue, but there's always room for improvement. We'd like to be a part of that, absolutely.
With the help of the Show Me Gold program, the athletic department was honored to create such a unique helmet alongside them for this year's military game.
With the National Guard, we partner with them every year. They've been great. They offer to come in, help with the decals. It's a great honor for them to see who else has also served in the past and who's currently serving. We feed them dinner and stuff like that, and they come in and help us with decals. It's a great honor for us to have them here to help, and a great honor for them to help the people that are serving.
From blank white helmets to the smoothly designed finished product, the athletic department and Show Me Gold organization created a helmet that truly symbolizes what it means to serve this country. For Bearcat Update, I'm Nolan Brooks.
So it's a great look for the Bearcats today, and it means a lot. They partnered with the National Guard for this one. I want to talk about a little bit more how these jerseys and these helmets came together.
Well, they really decided to directly partner with the National Guard because they know that these people are going to be the future soldiers in our country. So to really dedicate an entire helmet design to somebody who serves us so well is what made this that much more special. You have the red, white, and blue flag design on the paw, so that is for our service members, and by adding that photo is just a little bit extra, hits home for those guys, and it's going to be cool to see it out on the field. One of the guys that was actually helping put the stickers on is on the stickers, so he called dibs while he was doing it for all his stickers, and it was really cool to see him. I have a tear rolling down my face, but it was really cool to see him help out and see all them help out, and it really turned out well.
And Kramer, when these players roll onto the field for the first time today, and you're able to see these helmets, see these uniforms and the look, it really is good for anyone out there that serve this country.
Yeah, it's a great day. It's a great way to salute our veterans and the people who are also serving today. I just want to say thank you for all those who are serving, and for the ones who are bound to serve or has that passion of it. And they see this today, they're like, hey, we get looked at. No matter what, we get looked at because we are serving this country. They are protecting us day in and day out. And it's just a perfect way to say, hey, thank you so much. And it's such an honor for this to happening for everybody.
Yeah, so Northwest, like we've said, they work and they do these different jersey things throughout the year, but this is one of the more special jerseys you'll see this season.
Definitely. You know, a few weeks ago we had the Scott Boswick dedication on the helmets, and this week they really outdo themselves every time they do these. I mean, they go above and beyond to make sure that you know what these uniforms and these helmets are representing overall, and it was really pleasing to see the National Guard so willing to help out and see a final result that they wanted out of the helmet and what the athletic department wanted, and they did an amazing job.
And if you're, Emporia State, it might be cool to be part of this game as well. And it's not really going to change the outcome of the game, but it's just something cool to be a part of.
Yeah, I feel like as an Emporia State coming in and seeing this, like, hey, this is a really great way, like, Northwest is doing this, hey, we can do this too. And it's going to we're going to have like a chain reaction of other MIAA schools and say, hey, we need to have something like this to salute our veterans because they protect us. I mean, we're here doing this because they are protecting us right now. So once again, thank you so much for serving, and for the ones who are going to be serving, thank you so much.
Yeah, so that is Military Day here at Bearcat Stadium. As again, the Northwest Missouri State Bearcats at 3-1 are taking on the Emporia State Hornets, who sit 2-2. Go ahead and take another quick break here on the Tailgate Show, and when we get back, we'll start talking about some of the key players for this game. Welcome back to the pavilion here behind Bearcat Stadium as the Northwest Missouri State Bearcats are taking on the Emporia State Hornets. And this game is really important for Northwest. You took the loss last week. You need to get it figured out this week because trying to get it figured out next week at Pitt State's not going to be the best option.
Yeah, like you said, you need to figure it out today, within, an hour? When they get on that field, you need to know game mode. Switch it over. You also need to worry about keeping control of the ball. With Wright, he needs to, hands need to keep warm the entire time. Thin gloves, not going to keep you warm throughout the game. So make sure you have that hand warmer, that little pocket sleeve you have. Make sure you use all of that, and when you do the handoffs, make sure it's all crisp and clean. When you throw the ball, don't throw it to a defender. Of course, you don't want to throw it to a defender as well, but you need to make sure that pass is crisp and clean, and you need to control the ball. Everybody on this team needs to control the ball. Even with Emporia State, they needed to control the ball. It's just right now with the rain coming down and it's cold, there's huge factors that can possibly happen throughout this game. So, ball control, number one thing through both sides, they need to control it.
That I can't agree more that we need to control the ball, or Northwest needs to control the ball, and Emporia State does as well. But now we have the factor of the wet football. The wet football is a menace out on the field. You can't really throw good passes, or you won't be as accurate, or you won't get as many completions, because as soon as it hits that receiver's hands, you have to worry about those gloves being wet, and it'll bounce right off, and that could lead to a bunch of deflections and maybe some interceptions in the game. So I think that's going to be a huge factor now that the rain is coming down, so hopefully both teams are prepared for that aspect.
You also got to think about it too. With this turf on the field, it's going to be even slick. And, they already have, the drainage stuff, those little tiny dots you see on the field. Most people don't know what those dots are. Yes, they're for drainage and getting the water on the field. But still, they are going to be slick. This field's going to be slick. If it was with actual grass, it may possibly be slick, but not as much as turf is. So protect your ankles as well throughout this game, because there's going to be a lot of sliding, possible ankles being rolled over. It's just, there's so many factors when the rain comes into play.
And when you have two offenses putting up the yards that they've been putting up so far this season, this kind of weather, it might slow down these offenses because you're going to not be inclined to throw the football as much. You're going to want to hand it off more. And for the Bearcats, when you look at the running game, your quarterback's leading the rushing attack right now, and that's something when you look at Northwest, that even though Braden Wright is a dual threat quarterback, you really don't want him to be your leading rusher. You've got two running backs back there in Josh Caldwell and Isaiah Strayhorn.
Yeah, you need to have Caldwell and Strayhorn step up a lot in this game. And most of the fumbles that Wright has had throughout this so far, the first 4 games of the season, has been on handoffs. That's one of the big things he needs to work on. He needs to have soft hands, not as stiff, and also he needs to make sure that the jerseys are clean and are not wet, because that's another factor, how to get the ball wet. And you don't want that ball wet, like what Nolan just said. The rain right here is just what's making it so difficult for both teams to even plan or go strategy-wise and to set up the game. But yes, there'll be a lot of running throughout this game.
Yeah, at first we were worried about there being a passing game, but now with this rain coming down, I agree there's going to be nothing but a hard run game from both sides of the ball. Emporia State already had that, but now it's going to be even more evident because they realize we're not going to be able to sling the ball downfield and be as successful because of the wet football, the wet gloves, the wet jersey. And as far as defense goes, that's going to be another tough thing. Is trying to tackle a wet jersey on a player and trying to wrap them up is going to be even harder, because after they wrap them up, they could fall off or something like that. So hopefully they are prepared.
And Kramer, when you look at this Bearcat team, and we saw a lot of pressure put on Braden Wright to lead this team. He's throwing a lot, but he's also running a lot. If you're the Bearcats, do you look at maybe trying to take some plays out of him and featuring your two running backs a little bit more?
Yes, I 100% agree with that, because once again, going back to the weather thing, you don't want to get him hurt. He's a freshman quarterback. He doesn't want to get hurt at this time in his young college career, because who knows, he might get, not trying to say he will, he could possibly get hurt. And say he try to roll out on a throwing play, then say, hey, maybe I can take a run through here, then gets hit. You see that so many times in the NFL and also other college sports, to where you see a quarterback diving onto the ground to try to be safe, but then people come in and still hit you. You don't want that to happen to your young quarterback, and he might get the yips. You never know. Anything can happen after an injury, could be possibly bad. Not trying to say it's going to happen today. I don't want that to happen today. I want everybody to stay healthy for both sides of the team. But still, there's a lot going on through this.
And if you're Braden Wright, you've run the ball 35 times this year. Josh Caldwell, he's got 40 attempts. Isaiah Strayhorn, 36 attempts. So your quarterback, he's run the football just as much as your running backs have so far this year.
Yeah, and that's something that we brought up every week with Braden Wright. Being a dual threat quarterback is really tough for a defense. They prepare for the pass game, but then they don't realize that when he rolls out and if anything isn't working, he's going to run for it. So that's definitely going to be another factor. So Northwest is really holding on to a three-person threat running attack, and if Emporia State doesn't prepare for that mentally and physically, then they're definitely not going to be in this game at all, because a three-person threat at running is outstanding.
Yeah, and we just have received word that due to the weather right now, it is in delay right now. So, and unfortunately, it might not start at the scheduled time, but we will get this football game in at some point.
Weather right now is 3-0 on the day. Delaying the game, you're delaying the marching band coming in, B&B. Always great to have them come and perform for us. We're not going to get that today, but I mean, hey, why not stay safe? Why the players stay safe, the fans stay safe, the media stays safe. I mean, we're with electronic equipment. We don't want to be anything a little bad happening, but still. Weather right now is 3-0. I can't believe that this is happening on a day like this. You can tell behind us, and you can see the lights flashing off the truck, that it has gotten dark. I mean, there's also been Rebel and Thunder, so, I mean, anything can happen. They just need to make sure that everybody stays safe. I see right now a guy running with flag sticks, trying to make sure he's in the cover. So, I mean, everybody needs to stay safe during this delay and not do anything stupid, apparently.
And if you're, Nolan, if you're these two teams now you're sitting here in this delay. You're not able to be out there on the field warming up. You've seen this a little bit in Division I college and the NFL this year. What is this doing to these players? Your routine has now been affected going into this football game.
I mean, I really feel like if they're going to be a good program, which they are, then you need to be prepared for things like this where your warm-up is going to be affected. And hopefully they realize that not getting that first initial warm-up should not affect the entire game. And their warm-ups, as soon as they get to go out and warm up, are going to be just fine. They're going to know exactly what to do. They have their game plan for a rainy day like this or a delay in a game. And I really don't see any big difference, but it's definitely going to affect them overall. So.
And Kramer, when you look at this Bearcat team playing Central Oklahoma last week, that was a difficult scheduling for them. It's a Central Oklahoma team that's better than they were in previous years, and you come from playing a Missouri Southern team where you roll past them, and then you got to make one of your longest road trips of the season. So it was a tough scheduling for them, and they didn't play that well down there in Central Oklahoma.
No, they really didn't. If you want to look back onto that game, their rushing game was not there. I mean, just think about it. The first half, they had nothing. They scored 18 points in the fourth quarter. That's the most they've scored that entire game. Of course, it was 21-31. The offense wasn't there at all. Defense wasn't there at all until about the third quarter, fourth quarter. So it's just a little different. But yes, they need to step up for this game before Pitt State next week.
Yeah, we really saw a very different Northwest team last week against Central Oklahoma, and like we brought up earlier, Central Oklahoma came ready to play. These teams get used to each other no matter how many times they switch out players and bring in new people and seniors graduate. So Northwest really let themselves down in a way in that game. They could not get the passing game going, could not get the run game going, and their defense just couldn't stop Central Oklahoma. So that's something they probably have looked at on film with Coach Wright this week, and I'm sure that they've been harped at on what they need to fix, and hopefully they do that today.
And Kramer, that's one thing that's you haven't talked about a lot when you turn in terms of Northwest football is issues on the defensive end. And that's really where the problems for Northwest have been this season.
And it's the most shocking thing too, because Northwest is a defensive team, and with the fact that they are kind of like, hey, our defense isn't there yet, and wow, that was loud. Yeah, their defense needs to step up for this game, and so say they do step up against Emporia State, hopefully they're going to be there for Pitt State for next week, because once again, as I'm talking right now, I'm looking forward to next week. Now this game, you need to stay on this game at first, make sure you beat Emporia State, make sure you figure it out, like what this team is going to do. I know weather, once again, bringing it back up, I'll keep bringing it back up. They're 4-0 on the day. They're 4 on the day since I keep talking about it. But still, they need to worry about this game first and then worry about the next game next.
And Nolan, this defense, they've been stout up there on the front seven. They're decent on the run game. Where they've had issues is in that pass game. They're giving up a lot of big plays through the air. What do they need to do today to keep this Emporia State offense from opening up the pass game?
Well, I think our linebackers need to be a little bit more active as far as pass coverage, quick little dump down passes to the running backs and stuff like that. So hopefully they really shut down something in that area. And then downfield, they really got to avoid all the pass interference penalties that have come up recently in the past few weeks. And if they do that, I feel like they're going to really shut down the pass game for Emporia State, and they're going to shut down the run game if they really push to the line and get to the backs.
Yes, we just did hear the official announcement that Bearcat Marching Band unable to make their way through the tailgate area today due to the weather. As well, again, the game has been delayed at this point. No official projected start time has been given, so these players are sitting there in their locker room now waiting to figure out when they're going to be able to start playing today.
And when they are figuring out in their locker room, the locker room for Emporia State's underneath the Mel Churchman Stadium area complex area at the bottom. The good thing about for Northwest is they're over at the Jim Bearcat Arena. They can honestly go upstairs, work out a little bit more than they have to. But when you're also doing that, I mean, I know it's different. You're on a concrete. You're on like the Bearcat Arena floor. Make sure you have your shoes off, of course. You don't want to slip and fall with those cleats. But still, you need to make sure you're doing stretching. Stretching is most important for today. It's cold, cramp up. You don't want that to happen. Yeah, they just need to prep, warm up, and hopefully both teams play very well today.
And so we'll go ahead and take a quick break here at the Northwest Missouri State Student Media Tailgate Show, streaming live on KNWT as well as on air with KZLX. But we'll be right back, and we'll get into some of the nuances of each one of these players for these two teams when we come back. Welcome back to the Pavilion live behind Bearcat Stadium here for the Northwest Student Media Tailgate Show. Again, this game has been delayed at this point. Still no projected start time available. So we've talked about it already before, but these players still not able to get out on that field to continue their warm-ups.
That might be one critical or huge thing that could possibly happen. Of course, it's both teams are not on the field, so it's really not as big of a factor for both teams as, say, they're both going to play their game when they get on the field. Just warm-ups might be slightly different. The punter might not punt or kick or do whatever he needs to do before the game because, I mean, main thing right there, because there's going to be a lot of 3-and-outs, I believe, on this because of this weather going on. And I feel like the defense for both sides is going to be up for both teams. I mean, this could be a very good defensive statistics-wise game for them. Pad your stats, why not? In the running game, it's going to be also different for both sides. But when they're just in their locker rooms, warming up, doing whatever they need to do, just make sure you stay healthy. Make sure you wrap up everything. Perfect.
Yeah, the weather is consistently being brought up here. I mean, it is not going to matter what happens here. It is already wet. There is lightning. Everything is going on. So the players are definitely going to be prepared to be ready at a moment's notice because as soon as that delay is up, that's when they're going to have to go out and warm up. So hopefully they realize that's the situation. So we'll see if they're prepared.
Okay, we've talked about Braden Wright. He's a dual-threat quarterback. He's got 35 rushing attempts this year for 237 yards and 5 touchdowns. Passing-wise, he's 79 for 132, 1 interception, 950 yards passing. So he's that dual-threat quarterback, but Emporia State, they've got a dual-threat quarterback as well. Their quarterback, Braxton Marshall, he's got 38 attempts for 136 yards and 3 touchdowns, and then he's got 84 for 151 with 2 interceptions, 752 yards and 6 touchdowns.
So as you mentioned that, they both had pretty much the exact same offensive style with your quarterback being able to be mobile, being able to throw the ball effectively well too. As both teams are really good. As Emporia State's 2-2 on the season. Northwest 3-1, lost last week. This is going to be huge. Braden Wright, I like to call him the machine because he can do anything he wants to on the field. So the machine's out there. He'll be out there today. He's going to come back from his the loss last week in Central Oklahoma. He's ready. You could tell he's ready. I'm pretty sure right now in that locker room he's pumped. I mean, even though there's a weather delay going, the kickoff is now at 2:30, as they mentioned, bus behind us, officially 2:30. So I bet he's pumped. He's ready. He's probably loose, listening to his music. He's probably dancing, doing whatever he needs to do to warm up. He has so much charisma out there. The machine's out there to play for today.
And Nolan, now that we know that they put a projected start time on this game, the players can reset their clocks at this point and get ready to go now for this game.
Yeah, we have been talking consistently about how these players know that no matter what, their warm-ups are going to start as soon as they get to go. And with a official kickoff time now, they know at 2:30 it's game time. It's ready to go out there, play football, and I'm sure Emporia State is in the same mindset at 2:30. We're ready to go. It's game time, and let's get it done. So,
and when we look at the running backs for this game, that's probably going to be the featured position for both teams this games. Northwest, they go with a two-pronged attack with Josh Caldwell and Isaiah Strayhorn. Caldwell's got 40 rushing attempts for 197 yards and 3 touchdowns. He's also got 8 receptions for 32 yards and a touchdown. Strayhorn, 36 attempts, 203 yards and 2 touchdowns. Then on the Emporia State side, their running back, Landon Nault, he's got 84 rushing attempts for 423 yards, 5 touchdowns, also 7 receptions, 82 yards, and a touchdown. So if you're Northwest, that might be the guy you're going to have to stop today.
Yeah, that's the guy that they could possibly stop because as they only mentioned one person on the Emporia State team. So what can their second guy do? Their second stringer. Who knows? They could stop him and then go for the second guy, but you also got to worry about getting that ball transfer. That's the only big key. Like weather bringing it back up again. The rain right now, that field's going to be slick. So who knows? He could even be an open field, slip and fall. Then, of course, you don't really need to tackle him. He's got to touch him, put him on the ground. But so much factors going on. Northwest, I feel like with that pass rush that Northwest does have, they are going to be fine. I feel like they're going to be fine. I mean, they've only given up 73 yards the entire season so far on rushing. They're not going to worry about this. Nobody's going to go over 100 yards rushing for Emporia State.
I agree. I think defense is going to be a big key today. A lot of falling down on the field, sliding, slip and slide all over the place. It's going to be a mess, but I think both these teams know that. I mean, clearly you can see that they know it's raining. They know that it's going to be slick. But a problem for Northwest defense is Emporia State. They have a dual threat with the quarterback being able to run and that running back who is really taking on much of the load for them as far as the run game. But with that dual threat quarterback, that's something they're going to have to worry about is if he doesn't hand it off, he's going to run for it. So hopefully Northwest is prepared.
And here in the last couple moments, the rain has lightened up a little bit, and that might be good for kickoff time as we've got that 2:30 kickoff time. So maybe by then this weather will move through and we can have a game without that much of a weather issue.
Yeah, I'm going to be a weatherman right now. Well, it's supposed to rain all day. It's going to be raining all day. There's a better chance at 4 o'clock. Hopefully the game was supposed to end at 4 o'clock around that time. The rain might pick up even more during that time. So it's going to rain the entire time. As you see around us on the camera and stuff, it's lightened up. It wasn't as dark as it was beforehand. And honestly, we mentioned about the warm-ups and stuff they could possibly do inside like their locker rooms area. They're going to have their time to go out there on the field, stretch out a little bit, get that game mode mentality going on. And so I can just feel like this game is just going to be like any other game coming forward today, even though with the pushed back time up at 2:30.
Yeah, so again, the official start time of this game now pushed back to 2:30, but Northwest Missouri State, you have the loss last week. We talked about it a little bit before, but today, extremely important because when you look at Northwest's schedule, you have not yet played the three powerhouses of the MIAA in Pitt State, Fort Hays State, and Central Missouri.
Yeah, that's something that is really going to be big for Northwest. They have to bounce back today. If they don't bounce back, that's going to be a very big clue for Pitt State, Fort Hays State, and all those teams that are really fighting for that top spot. As we mentioned earlier, there's 5 or 6 teams that are all tied at the same record, and if they don't do something about that, then it's going to be a problem. So
didn't you just say the rain was lightening up?
Yeah, I did. It is now coming.
It is pouring right now. It is okay. 5-0 rain right. Weather right now is 5-0 on the day. It's going to be out throughout the entire time. This is actually this is entertaining and fun. I've never seen a game rain at all through my time here at Northwest, and they're going to be playing in the rain too. This is going to be fun. This is going to be a fun game. I know. I don't know. I'm getting excited now.
Yeah. So the weather is now sitting atop the MIAA standings at 5-0. So we've got a good one today. That will do it for us here at the Northwest Student Media Show. You're watching on KNWT. You've been listening on KZLX LP Maryville. Ryan Elliott, Kramer Sandstone, and I will be on the call for that on X106. So when that game kicks off again at 2:30, it's Northwest Missouri State up against Emporia State. Kickoffs at 2:30. But thank you for tuning in to the Northwest Missouri State Student Media Tailgate Show.